All right, welcome back, everybody, for the third time.
Take three.
Take three. It was tough fire drill. But anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about, especially with St. Peter's. Obviously, made that historic Cinderella run, the best 15 seed of all time. Um, but everyone's leaving. Shaheen Holloway, head coach, great coach, went to Seton Hall, his former alma mater, and obviously Doug Daryl Banks the third, and
Nadefo.
I don't think
No, it's not
Nadefo left. It
Nadefo.
was one other guy.
Yes.
All transferring. So definitely taking advantage of their publicity right now and their popularism after the March Madness run they had.
Matthew Lee.
Matthew Lee. That's the one we forget about. Sorry, Matthew, but I mean, predictions on where you guys think they're going. I mean, Seton Hall seems to be a popular pick, but like that's a tough conference. Like as good of a run as they had, like Doug came off the bench for a 15 seed. Like he had a good run, but like, is he really going to make a huge difference in like a tough conference like the Big East, Big 10, Big 12, like any major school, or is it just going to be a slight upgrade out of St. Peter's?
See, I feel like what happened with Doug, though, is that he proved himself that he can be clutch in clutch situations. And I think that's what teams are going to be looking at. Yes, he did come off the bench, but he's an insane shooter. And he hit that three in the first game and had many other threes as well. And clutch free throws and everything. And I think that's what teams are going to be looking at.
Yeah, I like the move for the head coach going to Seton Hall and get more competition over there. And he proved himself in March Madness. But on the players' side, I wish they stayed because I feel like they were building something over there in St. Peter's, and now everyone left. So it's like kind of sad, but like happy to see where everyone goes and like moves up. But as Ryan said, they did prove themselves in March Madness. So I think the higher the competition is in that division, will definitely play a factor, but it won't play like a major role in like their positions because they proved themselves in March Madness. So let's just see where everyone goes, and I think the head coach is going to do some big things over in Seton Hall.
Yeah, I also agree with that. The coach must be an amazing coach. I'm sure if he could get his 15 seed team to make it to the Elite Eight. And going back to the players real quick, I'm hoping that they stick together. That would be really cool. That would be a great storyline. And if they happen to go to Seton Hall as well with Coach Holloway, that would be crazy. That would be a great storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Rick Pitino before March Madness even started had a quote where he mentioned Shaheen Holloway's name and was like, "This guy can coach big time." And of course, who else would know better than Pitino, all-time great college basketball coach, Rick Pitino, our guy. But I think it's on Shaheen Holloway for the reason those guys left, but you can't even blame him. Like who would pass up that opportunity to coach at your former alma mater? I'm sure he's got great ties with Seton Hall, very competitive conference there. And he's going to be excited to compete in the Big East with some of the top teams in the NCAA, definitely stepping up for the MAC. Mm-hmm. But let's talk now about Duke. Guys, lost in the Final Four to North Carolina. What a great game that was, though. First time they've ever met in March Madness. So much fun to watch. But Coach K, that was his final game, and back-to-back losses to UNC both spoiled his homecoming, final game at home, and then spoiled his trip to, or what would have been his last trip to the national championship game. But Coach K, probably the greatest college basketball coach of all time. It's tough to compare, but I would say the greatest college basketball coach of our lifetimes, at least. Yes. Coach K, definitely gonna miss watching him coach. All-time legend, and it's just terrible that he went out like that.
I would agree that he's the best head coach to ever do it at the college basketball level. And I wasn't really a big fan of Coach K, but it was very disappointing to see how his final season ended against like his arch rivals UNC. But I just feel like UNC deserved it. But at the same time, it's just sad how Duke went out like losing their final home game and losing their chance to go to the national championship. But he passed John Wooden for the most Final Four appearances out of any coach with 13. So he broke another record in his final year. So I'm just happy. Like, although I didn't really like him at first, I'm happy to see how his career developed.
Man, I mean, it would have been so poetic if he had won it all in his final year. But then again, it's also poetic. I mean, I'm a sucker for the poetic endings. But it's also poetic that he would lose to UNC, Duke's rival, I would say, and most people would agree. Duke's rival, UNC. It's poetic that they would lose the first time they ever met in the tournament, and coming right after the loss at home to UNC. So I mean, I personally, I like Duke, but I was rooting for UNC because I like upsets, and they were an upset team for sure. They had upset the number 1 seed in their original division, and then the number 2 seed with Duke, and many other wins, and they were on a nice run there. And I'm sad that they lost to Kansas, but Kansas deserved it because they won.
They really gave it their all, UNC, and you could see it from that player who ended up throwing up on the court in the
Yes.
final game, which was just like you could just see from that how much heart they put into and how much like energy they put into. So I was happy for UNC to get a spot in the national championship.
Exactly. And just going back to Coach K real quick, like what we think about Duke basketball was all built by Coach K. Like when he started in the 80s, Duke was like the bottom tier of a tough ACC conference with North Carolina running the charge every single year. Coach K was actually almost fired in the late 80s, but had like a Cinderella run to the national championship game where they lost against Louisville. But you think about that aspect and how nobody hated Duke until they were good. And now everyone hates Duke, and there's a lot of Duke haters out there, and everyone knows they're a good basketball team. That was all Coach K. So I think his impact to the game and his impact at Duke, obviously, is just unbelievable. And that's why, like I said, he's greatest college basketball coach in my eyes. But yeah, going to the national championship game, so sad North Carolina choked a 15-point lead. They had it. I thought they had it. They're up 15 at halftime. Just couldn't get it done. But as an 8 seed, I could see it coming. North Carolina is just such a historic program. They had a great push at the end of the year, like really strong run. I knew when they were an 8 seed, they could definitely upset Baylor, which they did. But North Carolina, Kansas, good game, but Kansas finally winning since 2008, first championship. Seems like they've been runners up for the past few years, but finally cut the nets down. So you can't do anything but feel good for Kansas in that point.
I saw a stat where it was like the starting 5 for UNC played the most minutes out of any starting 5 in March Madness. So I would assume they just got tired at the end, but they gave it their all and they were up by 15. It was disappointing to see them blow a 15-point lead, but at the same time, I was happy for Kansas to win since it was like a long time coming for them. And also for me, it was like my second school option to go to Kansas. So it was just nice and cool to see Kansas end up winning it all.
Yeah, perfect. So I think we did March Madness justice overall. Not a lot of perfect brackets at all. Not even after the first day. I think there was like 1%. But I think the upsets just make it more enjoyable. Like I don't care about getting a perfect bracket because it's never gonna happen. I just care about the upsets and how enjoyable it is to watch. And this year, I definitely thought it was a really, really strong March Madness. And congrats again to Kansas for winning it all. So now let's transition to the MLB, guys. Opening day is today in less than 2 hours, actually. The first pitch is going to be thrown.
I'm excited.
For the 2022 season.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited. Big baseball fan. But let's first talk about how we've gotten to opening day. Some big free agency moves. The first one, I guess we're going to talk about being the big one from former World Series champions, taking a first baseman in, obviously giving up a huge first baseman. Freddy Freeman going to the Dodgers. Of course, the LA Dodgers get another monster at first base. But Freddy Freeman, obviously a Braves icon. He's been there since his rookie year. Helped them win the World Series, the biggest contributing factor, I think. Atlanta got probably a better power hitter in Matt Olson, albeit not as consistent. But it's also really sad to see Freddie Freeman go because every time you say his name, I just associate it with the Atlanta Braves.
I didn't really like the move by the Braves because Freddie Freeman's like the hometown kid for Atlanta, and it was like really nice to see him win a World Series in Atlanta, and I thought he was going to stay there, and I thought it was like just a dream scenario to have Atlanta and Freddie Freeman in the same place. But I can see why they moved him because they got Matt Olson, which is kind of like a younger version of Freddie Freeman, so they can like build him up as well. But on paper, the Dodgers look like the best team in baseball right now. I just think they're all hype, to be honest.
It's always tough to see. I mean, the Dodgers, like last year, I think they won 105 5 games, something crazy like that. Like they have Trey Turner, they've got Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. Like solid, just they're always gonna have a solid team. I mean, they're the LA Dodgers. It's like with the Yankees. Like we have a high payroll, so we're always gonna have the best team. But you're right in that aspect that it's all about chemistry. Like the Dodgers will go far regardless. Like there's no way they're not. If they don't make the playoffs, they'd have to have a choke as big as the Los Angeles Lakers. But I don't think there's any way they're missing the playoffs. But you're right. To be a World Series team, you really have to come together as a unit and just get on that hot streak, like at the perfect time, right as October rolls in. Can't fizzle out during the year. But the Dodgers right now looking like the best team. I'd put Atlanta at number 2 though. I think Atlanta's probably the second best, especially when Acuna comes back. Remember, they didn't have Acuna for their World Series push. That's crazy. He was by far the best player in baseball, I'd say. So
the one thing that concerns me about the Dodgers, though, and why I say they're all hype is because when you look back at the previous World Series winners, they've all been wild card teams, like most of them. So you don't have to be the best team in baseball to end up being the best team in baseball winning the World Series. Any team can do it. I feel like you definitely need chemistry. That's why I feel like they're hype, because they're overhyped, because they definitely have the best team on paper, but I don't think the chemistry is right there. Is just right there right now.
I feel like the Dodgers are gonna win it all this year. Nah, I don't know. I think they will definitely make it far. I would say they're gonna make it far because they've got such an insane team with a couple new additions, as well as the returning many players that they had from last year. And they had a good season last year. Like they had a great season. And I mean, Freddie Freeman getting a monster contract, but I mean, deservedly so. But I think it's just gonna make them just better. And
yeah, he's looked good in spring training. So we'll see. We'll see this week, I guess. Anyway, let's go on through free agency. We'll talk about Trevor Story next, the great Colorado Rockies shortstop going to the Boston Red Sox, guys. I think he's going to play second base at Boston because they've already got Xander Bogaerts playing shortstop. But Trevor Story, another guy with massive contract. I think that's what's so unique about the MLB is like the same exact teams keep getting like monster payrolls. I think NFL and NBA are like more well-rounded between the teams, but you've just got the juggernauts like Red Sox, Dodgers, Yankees, pretty much the only 3 teams that have like that strong of a hold. So no surprise, the Red Sox made a huge move this offseason. Trevor Story, great infielder. Definitely think he's going to make a huge impact for a Red Sox team that right now is looking like they're going to be the best in a very tough American League East division. Yeah,
I would agree that it was a great move for the Red Sox signing Trevor Story. I thought he was a great player ever since back in his Colorado Rockies days, when he didn't really get that much hype around his name and he didn't really get publicity like that. So it was nice to see Trevor Story just build his way up and sign a nice deal with the Red Sox. Now, as the Red Sox are looking really good on paper, I still would say the Blue Jays, in my opinion, are the best team coming from that division. But I'm just happy with Trevor Story making a big name for himself and signing with one of the biggest names in baseball. So I think it's a great fit for both Trevor Story and the Red Sox.
True. And I mean, he got a 6-year deal for $140 million, another monster deal, like we just had talked about with Freddie Freeman. But 6 years, that's a large contract. And I mean, he doesn't really have to prove himself because he already has proved himself. But he's got an amazing defense at shortstop, but he's probably going to be playing second because of Xander Bogaerts there. But I think this is a great move for the Red Sox. He's got a great defense, like I said, and a great bat. I mean,
yeah.
As great as Trevor Story is, I saw that the Red Sox are thinking of putting him in the 6th spot in the lineup. So that just shows you how great the Red Sox lineup is.
Yeah, that's why I think the American League East is just going to be a dogfight. I think you get potentially 3 playoff teams.
Yankees, say 4.
Red Sox,
Rays, and Blue Jays.
Well, you can there's only 2 wildcard spots.
That's right.
I believe, right. There's 2 wildcard spots, and those are the teams that don't win the division. So you'll have 1 division winner, and then you could get 2 wildcard spots from the same division.
There may be 2 or 3.
The Rays could even make a push for that wildcard spot. It's great. Like, Orioles.
Any team there can make it.
Besides the Orioles. I mean, any team there, though, you're right. Like, I kind of forgot it. Like, the Blue Jays are tough with Vlad and Marcus Semien, and they've got a solid rotation. I think they lost Robbie Ray, but
they still have, I believe, Bo Bichette.
Yeah, Bo Bichette. I mean, that offense is going to be lethal. So I'm really excited. That's probably the most exciting division in sports, like we were talking about with
100%.
the AFC West
Mm-hmm.
being so competitive
You got
this year.
AL East in baseball.
The AL East in baseball is going to be just like that, like
Mhm.
a lot of competitive teams.
It's unfortunate for a Yankees fan like myself to have such a good team, such a good division around me, but it's all right. I feel like the Yankees are going to make a push this year. They have to, honestly, after a disappointing season last year. It was such a disappointing season. And I mean, they made some additional moves. Like, I guess we can talk about that now. Josh Donaldson, that third base, that was a big trade. But I think the Yankees are looking good this year. They need to prove themselves. I really hope they can.
The Yankees are looking good for another year, and hopefully they can do something with it. They got Josh Donaldson at third, DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres. They signed back Anthony Rizzo for 2 years. I would say they upgraded in catcher with Kyle Higashioka. He's just better at defense than Gary
He
Sanchez
is
was.
definitely better.
And I feel like Gary Sanchez can be in slumps sometimes, which he doesn't benefit the Yankees at all when he's in a slump and when he's
always
not
in a
great with
slump.
defense. I used to love Gary Sanchez when he first came in. It was him and Aaron Judge, which was like the best combo ever.
Mhm.
But he just kind of fell off. But the one person I'm gonna really miss at third is Gio Urshela, who's going to the Minnesota Twins, who we got for Josh Donaldson as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Yankees got outplayed because the Twins got Urshela, Sanchez, and they were also able to sign Carlos Correa, which is another big name going to the Twins. And I feel like the Yankees improved a little bit, but they definitely need to prove themselves for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the most enticing part about that entire team, though, is like the additions they had last year, actually, that turned into transactions they made this year, like re-signing Anthony Rizzo again. I think Joey Gallo, if he can get a strikeout,
Yeah.
or if he can strike out a little bit less,
Mhm.
he's just, if he makes contact with the ball, that thing's flying 400 feet every time. Like, he's
Yeah.
that type of player who's he was in the home run contest last year. Like, he's a big power hitter. He's just got to strike out less, but that offense can be lethal. I mean, but the only problem I see with the Yankees is like you've got so many guys like that. Like we've got Aaron Judge is a little more consistent. He doesn't strike out as much, but still, he'll have those games. And same with Giancarlo Stanton. And Stanton doesn't even stay healthy. It's
he's unhealthy all the time, and he's either hitting a home run or he's striking out. Like
exactly.
Same thing with Gary Sanchez last year. He's hitting a home run, but more often was striking out.
Yeah.
Same thing with Aaron Judge, although he would get a hit sometimes, and even Rizzo, like he would hit, but he would also strike out. So it's like you've got that dynamic of being able to hit the home runs, but you can't produce enough because you're always striking out and you don't get any momentum or anything.
Exactly. And
the Yankees are back to being the Bronx Bombers, but with that being said, they need to get more contact hitters like DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres. Even Aaron Judge is a good contact hitter, but he's more of like on the power side, but he can make contact with the ball and get like singles, doubles. But I feel like the Yankees have a good team, but they just gotta, like you guys said, limit the strikeouts, and hopefully their power hitters can get them home runs and doubles and all that.
True. And I mean, the pitching, it's
best player in
arguable.
baseball. They still got the best pitcher in baseball.
Exactly. Garrett Cole, absolutely amazing.
I'd say Garrett Cole is not the best pitcher in baseball.
I'm a Brewers fan, and I'd say Garrett Cole's the best. And we got Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff.
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, who else were you thinking? Like Garrett Cole.
I
mean, Zach Wheeler did win Cy Young, but he's going to be out a little bit.
I'm a big Tyler Glasnow fan from the Rays.
Corbin Burns won Cy Young, of course.
I like Tyler Glasnow from the Rays.
He's
really good.
That's
he could be a
fair.
Sleeper. I would just say going into the season.
Going into the season, Garrett Cole's the biggest name.
They'll say, I think Garrett Cole's consensus number one. But as we saw last year, like it can definitely change. Like Corbin Burns wasn't super high up on anyone's radar. Ended up winning NL Cy Young. So
true. So you never know what's going to happen with that. And their pitching really needs to prove themselves this year. But honestly, both sides of the ball need to prove themselves, because if you got if you can put up runs, then your pitching doesn't have to be quite as good. But their pitching was all right last year, and they couldn't produce runs, so they just didn't do well. So they've got so much to prove this year. Hopefully, they can do something. I think they can. I think the new additions to the team, as well as, I mean, getting rid of some good players, but also Gary Sanchez with his sluggish performances at times. The Yankees are making some good moves this offseason, combining with the moves from last year. I think the Yankees are looking good this year. I like them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and like they made a move. So Aaron Boone said he's going to try to get Aroldis Chapman pitching in more games with non-safe situations, like just earlier in the game, which I think that can help them. I mean, he just needs the experience, and he needs more. I wouldn't say more practice because he's already a seasoned veteran.
He needs more like confidence when he goes
He needs
in
more
there.
confidence when he goes in because the home run balls he's given up sometimes, blown saves, just kill the Yankees. I think,
Yeah.
and especially in an AL East division, that's going to be tough. Like those relievers are going to be a huge part in winning or like closing out the big games that they need to win to eventually either make a wild card spot or win the division ultimately. So
true. And there's something else to consider here. But last season, when they started to do the crackdown on banned substances for like pitchers and such, like spider tack, I think it's called, or spider something like that. The Garrett Cole and Aroldis Chapman, right when that started to happen, faltered a little bit. So that begs the question, how much, or if they were using that substance, and if so, how much were they using, and will they be able to perform as well without using that if they were using it? Because their performances did falter a little bit. And are they the best pitchers if they can't perform without banned substances? So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time to see what happens. But I like what they're doing with Aroldis Chapman because I just feel like watching him when he comes into big save moments, he doesn't have that confidence with him because he could be not pitching for 2 days and then just get thrown in there at the bottom of the ninth and like go get us a huge save to win us this game. And he goes in there, throws like 100 miles an hour, and then sometimes most of the time he blows the save. So I like
Just last year, yes.
Yeah, like coming from a Yankees fan, I love Chapman, but I would say he needs to get better at saving big games.
I agree.
And I like what they're doing because this builds in more confidence, pitching every day, not every other day, and hopefully it pays off. But another big name that I mentioned earlier was Carlos Correa going to the Minnesota Twins. I think that's a great move for the Twins. He brings a big bat as well as a good defensive side to the game. I just feel like coming from a Yankees fan, I don't like Carlos Correa with all of the things in Houston. But I'll give him his respect and say that he's one of the best shortstops in the game, but I don't think he's like the best or top 3 in my opinion.
Yeah, Carlos Correa, that was terrible. That whole scandal was terrible, especially since they beat the Yankees to get there. But I don't know how big of a difference it makes for the Minnesota Twins. I think you were mentioning they got rid of Nelson Cruz too. Like he's not on the Twins anymore, or is he?
Nelson Cruz went to the Nationals.
He went to the Nationals
for 1 year.
So
yeah,
he was on the Twins though, so they don't have him. I know they have Byron Buxton's a pretty solid player.
He is.
I know they've got him on Minnesota.
He's a speedster.
He's a big speedster, but the only thing I really know about the Minnesota Twins is that their manager is Paul Molitor, all-time Brewers great.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I know that. But in an American League, I think they're in the AL Central. Overall, like I just don't see him winning the division. I mean, it's a good move, and it could get them definitely out of that mediocre kind of stage. But I still don't see them making a push. I don't think Carlos Correa is a big enough name to really change the team in that way.
I mean, maybe. But they've also got the other additions with Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela. I mean,
oh, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, some players can't perform in New York. It's like just something that happens. Like, I forget what pitcher it was a couple years ago for the Yankees, but he's an amazing. Sonny Gray, I think. I believe.
Yeah, Sonny Gray.
He was an amazing pitcher. Came to New York, was not great, and now he's really good again. Mm-hmm. So it's like some pitchers just can't, or some players as well just can't do it in New York. And I don't know what it is. It's just the atmosphere or whatever it is. But maybe Gary Sanchez couldn't play in New York, and he goes to the Twins, and now he's going to be absolutely insane and hit the ball. But you don't know. You don't know until the season starts. So I feel like the Twins, they made some great moves this offseason. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Staying in New York and the people leaving New York, Javier Baez used to be on the Mets, and now he's on the Tigers. And I feel like that's a good move for the Detroit Tigers because it brings some attention towards them. I don't think they have that much hype around them. So
yeah, they do have a very intriguing first base prospect, Spencer Torkelson.
What a name!
What a name, right?
That's a great name.
I know. I think he's like number 1 or 2 like I know if number one's Bobby Witt Jr.
Mhm.
from who's on the shortstop
From
for
the
the Kansas
Royals.
City Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah. But number two, like right behind him, is Spencer Torkelson. I
Mhm.
think.
They do have a good young core in Detroit, and I feel like Javier Baez can lead the core to give Detroit some couple of wins. But
Hopefully Detroit wins something. I mean, poor guys don't have
yeah.
football, basketball, or baseball. So it's so sad being a fan of Detroit sports right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think is that everything for free agency? I think those are the.
I'd
big,
say
big names.
Clayton Kershaw signing back with the
Recently,
Dodgers for 1 year.
Dominant.
Maybe he retires after the season if they win a World Series.
Mhm.
Maybe
I would say
that'd be a great.
he
career.
should. It would be a great fairy tale ending to a great career.
Yeah. He's been
Um,
so dominant for so long. 16 years. Just
Yeah, it's so
absolute
great.
dominance.
yeah, and then Albert Pujols signs a 1 year deal with the Cardinals, and he says he is going to retire after this year. So he's
Okay.
retiring back in his hometown, St. Louis. I don't know if it's his hometown, but that was like the team he started his career off. Yeah.
You could just call it his hometown. Where he, where everyone knows he's from.
Yeah, and then
Sorry, LA, but
Andrew McCutchen. He used to be
Mm.
a big Pirates player,
yeah.
and he
Brewers.
went to the Brewers now.
Yeah,
Good
that's what I'm
team.
talking about.
And I guess another big name is Matt Olson to the. Wait, no, we already covered that. But Matt Chapman to the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Chapman's gonna add to another.
Oh, dominant offense. Yeah.
Yeah, dominant offense. Dominant team in general. I can see the Blue Jays going far. And another key pitcher who I had in my fantasy team last year was Carlos Rodon. He went from the White Sox to the Giants for 2 years. So I think he's gonna improve the Giants' starting pitching rotation. And overall, it's just been a crazy free agency for MLB.
Yeah, I think
It has been.
a trend with the Brewers though. Like you guys had Curtis Granderson on the Yankees.
Mhm.
It was getting players way past their prime because Curtis Granderson was a great Yankee. He was a great player, and then he came to
I
the
loved
Brewers,
Curtis
and it's
Granderson.
like,
The Grandy man can.
yeah, he's like 35 years old, like not producing much on offense. I think that's the same with McCutchen. It's almost to like add depth.
Yeah.
But I love obviously McCutchen, huge name on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The
2
Brewers,
years ago.
the Brewers take old players and just like let them end their
let
career
them
over
do
there.
what they gotta do. but
Yeah.
yeah, Brewers. And just briefly because I know obviously a lot more than you guys know, but I think they have the best rotation, best pitching staff by far in baseball. I don't think it's close. I think the best reliever's got to be Josh Hader,
Yeah.
Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, both
would agree.
probably top 5 pitchers. Woodruff
Mm.
maybe borderline, but Corbin Burns, no debate, he's top 5, coming off as Cy Young. So for the Brewers, I think it's just the offense. Like Yelich has got to get back to his MVP season. We took Hunter Renfroe from the Boston Red Sox. He could have a solid career year in Milwaukee. It's generally it's not really a hitter friendly ballpark, but there's some spots where you can send it. And like Hunter Renfroe, like most of his home runs came into left field. Like he'd hit them into left field. And for Milwaukee, it's only like 325, 330 feet, like a really short left field. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Brewers, but I still have them winning the NL Central, and that's.
I think they're gonna win just because of that pitching they have. They have the best reliever, 2 of the best starting pitchers in the game, and I feel like nowadays you need pitching in order to win in baseball because you got great hitters all around the league, but you don't really have great pitchers all around the league. And I feel like when you get great pitchers, then your team can just improve. So.
Exactly. And they got Freddy Peralta too last year, had a breakout year. It's like 1, 2, 3 combo, like top 10, 15 pitchers. Like definitely no debate. I think is they got the best pitching staff.
That's why I'd say the Yankees aren't gonna win the division only because of their pitching. Like they have Garrett Cole and they have great role players in the starting position. Like the starting rotation. But I just say that they just need better pitching in order to compete against the Blue Jays, for example, and the Rays and the Red Sox. Like those are just stellar lineups. And if you don't have a great pitcher every night going against those teams, then your guy can get rocked. And I feel like we can only count on Garrett Cole. Although we have like great pitching, Garrett Cole's like our number 1 guy. So let's see what happens next year.
But I mean, Luis Severino a couple years ago was like unstoppable. He was
Severino
so
was, yeah, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, right. And then now does not seem to have it, but he did come back last season, mid-season, I believe. So maybe it was just that he was rushed or something, and now he's had this offseason, and maybe he's going to be good again. But also Nestor Cortez, I mean,
He's good.
Nasty
He's
Nestor.
good. Yeah.
He's got a glorious mustache, but he's really good. He's nasty. I love him. He's probably aside from Garrett Cole, he's probably my favorite pitcher on the Yankees just because of that mustache.
I believe they're gonna start Luis Severino in the bullpen this year.
Are they?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
he's not gonna be. I mean, maybe he switches back
Mhm.
to being a starting pitcher, but I like the move, keeping him in the bullpen, giving him some like just put him in the game when it doesn't matter that much if they're losing by a lot or if they're winning by a lot, and just like let him slowly progress back into being the pitcher he once was. So I'm happy with that move. And like I said, the Yankees don't have big pitchers, but they have good enough pitchers like Nestor Cortez and other key
Jordan
roles.
Montgomery is also.
Jordan Montgomery's good.
He
Yeah,
did pretty well last year.
Mm-hmm. They're not big names, but they're good pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So you guys want to get into the best players in the league right now? Any
Predictions?
MVP predictions? Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think we kind of covered a lot of the standings, but we could also go over that briefly. In terms of players, I'd say Vlad's got to be up there. Trey Turner's got to be up there. Juan Soto, what a great year he had last year for the Nationals.
Say Mike Trout number one.
Mike Trout. Still, you think Mike Trout number? A lot of people
Mike
are
Trout's
saying
number
Mike
one,
Trout's
100%.
not number one anymore. I mean, he didn't have a great year or as great of a year statistically last year. He's still like top 10, but not
Mike
as
Trout's the
good as
most
some of
consistent
that.
player.
But Mike Trout probably like in terms of it's tough. Like I don't want to say this because like it's gonna sound completely out of pocket, but in terms of talent, like he's the best baseball player of all time. Like
I would agree. 100%.
that's like it sounds weird, right? Because you
Yeah.
got Babe Ruth and all these players, and it's not like basketball where it's like more recent, or even football. Like you've got baseball going into like the late 1800s. Like it's America's pastime, longest sport. So of course you're gonna have players like Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle that you're gonna say are the best. But do you think any of them were really as talented as Mike Trout? Like,
No, baseball's a weird sport to consider who's the GOAT, because in football you automatically think of Tom Brady, hockey's Wayne Gretzky, and basketball MJ or LeBron.
Yeah.
But baseball could be Mike Trout, Babe Ruth, just
Mickey
like
Mantle, like
a countless load of players.
just so many players, yeah. But yeah, Mike Trout, like you can never sleep on Mike Trout. I love him as a player. I think my MVP though, it's gonna be tough. I think Vlad just got it. Like I might go on your train, Jordan, and say the Blue Jays could be the best team in baseball right now. Like maybe not the best team on paper in terms of like Dodgers and Atlanta Braves right now, but I think they're one of those teams that can definitely win the World Series. Like they just got to put it all together. Vlad's just. I'm hoping. I mean, I drafted Vlad on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping he's the NL MVP this year. Or excuse me, AL MVP.
Yeah, I say Guerrero's AL MVP and NL MVP. I got Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman, that's a good pick.
Just revenge against the Braves.
I got for my AL MVP Ohtani. He's just so good on both sides of the ball.
You can't get mad at that.
Yeah. And then for National League, Mookie Betts. Last year, coming off slightly less of a good season than he usually does, but still, he's like an amazing player. I think he's bounced back year this year. And it wasn't even a bad season last year. He's still really good, but this year he's gonna pop off, I think.
Yeah, I'm between Trey Turner and Juan Soto. I know that's like the popular pick. I know that's not crazy, but I just think those two are just absolutely insane. Like I would say Trey Turner probably my NL MVP. Dodgers picked him up. It's a great player, but I'm thinking. So now we got our MVPs. Any Cy Young predictions for you guys? I'm gonna be a homer and say I don't think Corbin Burns wins it twice.
Back to
So
back.
I might not have to say Corbin Burns. It might be Zach Wheeler's year though. He's injured a little bit right now, but if he comes back strong for the Phillies and has an even better year than he did last year, which is gonna be really tough, I like Corbin Burns as NL MVP. But I think AL. I think it's finally Garrett Cole's time on the Yankees.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yankees fans, yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. Garrett Cole hopefully will win the Cy Young this year. But I'd say National League though, Jacob Degrom. See, it's kind of hard to tell because
he's injured now.
Yeah.
He's out for a while.
So both New York pitchers.
How long is he out?
I think until like late May. It was something crazy.
Well, that would definitely have a factor. But I mean, like when he was in last year,
DeGrom was elite.
1.08 ERA, like that's insane.
Last year he was gonna win NL.
When he's healthy, he's the best pitcher in baseball.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
can't doubt that.
So if he can stay healthy, if he can get there in time and stay healthy, then Degrom.
Or
all the way.
actually, I'm changing my NL MVP. I'm going Acuna. I'm going to
Ronald
Ronald Acuna.
Acuna?
He got injured last year. He got injured in like July. He was out
did.
July, August when people were making their votes. September too.
Hmm.
If Acuna comes back from his ACL injury, which I think he will, because the Braves are really easing him into it. Last year, like I don't know if you guys remember, like the first 2 months of the season, by far the best baseball player in the league. He got all 5 stats. He got batting average, home runs, stolen bases, RBIs, and he got a lot of hits as well. So like Ronald Acuna, I that might be my sleeper pick for NL MVP, guys. I really like Ronald Acuna, and that's why I think it could be if Acuna comes back healthy, Matt Olson does well. Could be Braves versus Blue Jays World Series.
That would be a good World
That'd
Series.
be really cool World Series to see.
Going back to the Cy Young Awards real quick, I agree with you guys with Garrett Cole.
Mhm.
As much as I was saying that like he's not as great as what everyone think he is, I think this is the year he definitely proves himself. I just see him having a great year for himself this year. And then from the National League, I'd say, like you said, both New York pitchers, but instead of Degrom, I have Max Scherzer winning the NL Cy
That's a
Young.
good pick.
I think they're both hurt right now, but hopefully they bounce back and have great seasons for the Mets. But from a New York fan, I would love for the Mets. For a New York Yankees fan, I would love for the Mets to be good as well because it only makes the Yankees better.
That's
And
true.
my prediction for the World Series is the Mets against the Yankees. I feel like
Ooh,
another
you like
Subway
that.
Series
That would
would
be
be
That
amazing.
would be
Yeah.
insane.
That
That's
would
not a
be
bad
great.
pick though. Like DeGrom
Mhm.
comes back, like we were saying, really strong. Comes back to like you said, around like that 1.08
Yeah,
ERA.
1.08.
It's crazy. Like he does that, the Mets are right up there. Yankees, if they come out, let me tell you, if they come out of that AL East division, I think whoever wins or whoever comes out of there as the division champion or like the wild card spot, like whoever, like one of those. Okay, one of those teams is gonna make the World Series. I
Yes,
think one of those 3 teams, if they get all 3
Mhm.
in the playoffs for the wild card too, like I think one of those.
Yeah, it's also gonna be hard though because they're gonna be playing each other.
Yeah,
lot,
but I
there's so
think
many
having that
games.
experience too. Is
True,
like,
that is
Yeah.
very
like
true.
162 games. You're talking about.
It's gonna make
like,
them only better.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
against each
Yeah.
other.
Mhm.
So I think Yankees.
But the Mets Yankees would be insane because Buck Showalter is on the Mets now, and he used to be the manager for the Yankees.
That's right.
This is before 1996, 1998, 1999, 2000, when Joe Torre became the manager, ended up winning all those World Series.
Oh.
And my dad always tells me that Buck Showalter is the reason why the Yankees won those World Series. He just wasn't on the team. It was Joe Torre who got to be on the team and win those championships.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
I love Buck Showalter. I hope he does really good with the Mets. I feel like the Mets have a great starting lineup too in hitting. So if their pitchers stay healthy and their bats are on fire, I can see them making a big push. And coming from a Yankees fan, I just want to see a Subway Series. That's
That would
what
be
I
great.
say.
Subway Series is so sick.
Mhm. I mean, it's not even that crazy either because both teams are like for like the sports books and odds and everything. I think, well, it depends on each site, but pretty much Yankees and Mets are 4th, 5th, and 6th, like right around that area. It depends on where you're going, what site it is, but that's definitely not out of the question at all. And I would love to see that. And I mean, obviously Dodgers are first across the board, no
Yeah.
dispute there.
Dodgers are number 1.
But you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I mean, you get a couple good games and you're right in there. Like you can beat a team a couple times and you're there. Like, so I would love to see a Subway Series. That would be so great. But I think the Dodgers are gonna they're gonna be there. I have Yankees over Dodgers just because I'm a Yankees fan.
That would be another great World Series, Yankees against Dodgers, and
The
the,
big
Dodgers
markets,
would be the Brooklyn Dodgers. So it
East
would
versus
be
West Coast, yeah.
yeah, now East West. It would be a sick World
Iconic
Series.
series, yeah. So I've got. I want to put the Brewers in the World Series. I just can't. I just don't see it happening unless
Brewers are making the
Yelich
playoffs.
unless their bats wake up. If their bats wake up, I think the Brewers are an honest sleeper pick to go to the World Series and possibly win it. I think a lot of people just like they got swept by the Braves last year because they held Atlanta like 7 total runs the whole series, but they scored like 3. It was just such an offensive matchup, but our bats just weren't waking up. And obviously it's expected to hold Atlanta to 7 when you've got the best pitching staff in baseball.
Yeah.
So that's my secret sleeper pick, but World Series champion, you said Yankees? I'm going Blue Jays. I'll just
Okay.
do that. A little underdog pick. Who you got?
Now, Dodgers on now the Dodgers on paper are the best team, but I think they're overhyped. Dave Roberts, their manager, said they're a guaranteed win for the World Series, and I feel like if they just go in thinking they're going to win the World Series, they're not going to win.
True.
Because if you think that you're just better than everyone else, you're not going to try as harder as everyone
Mm.
else, and they're not going to be as hungry as everyone else.
Mm.
So the Dodgers on paper are going to win the World Series, but I'd say Yankees over Mets Subway Series.
Good picks.
I like it.
Good picks. I think, and I think that's everything. Kind of want to talk about. So, anyway, happy opening day, everyone. Super excited myself. Big baseball fan. I know Jordan's a big baseball fan. Ryan,
Not
big,
so much.
We'll say big
but
Yankees.
I'm a big
fan.
Yankees fan.
Big
There you
Yankees
go,
fan.
yeah.
So he's excited too. It's our it's yesterday was our last day without baseball
Mhm.
until I think it's July 20th for like All-Star break. So
Okay.
we've got a while of baseball.
Mhm.
Definitely well into the summer. I'm super excited. But definitely good talk today, guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And this has been Sports Chat episode 7. Signing off, Jordan, Ryan.
See you later.
See you guys later.
Adios.